Welcome back to another episode of Divine Journey 2. In the last episode, we went to space and got various resources from different planets. And all of that led to us getting our little laser focus here. And in between episodes, I went ahead and moved over our little liquid crafter here, so it's not in the ceiling anymore. Unlocking the laser focused also unlocked chapter 25, which is Draconic Evolution. And to get started in Draconic Evolution, the first two things we're going to have to make are some plasma cores alongside the Draconic cores. And I've gone ahead and set up a little pattern here. And all it is the empty core inside the laser focus. And it takes 1.28 laser power, I guess. So yeah. There's our first plasma core. And I've also gone ahead and set up the pattern for the Draconic core, which is just a little crafting recipe. And I only had to add a pattern for the corrupted light ingot, which is just a simple little alloy smelter recipe. Next up, we're going to make some wyvern cores, which is a little runic altar craft. So I've gone ahead and set up the recipe for that. And the reason we needed those wyvern cores is to actually upgrade our infusion crystal to the next tier. And this will let us get access to our tier 5 mystical agriculture seeds. Now that we have our Superium infusion crystal, I've gone ahead and updated our crafter here. And now we're making Supremium essence instead of the Superium essence. And since we now have Supremium, I've gone ahead and made a couple tier 5 crafting seeds. And I made all of the different Thaumcraft seeds, as well as the Cold Iron seeds. And I leveled them all up, and they're all planted now. And I've also made Yellorium, Aquamarine, and Star Metal. And all these are planted as well, and they're all 10, 10, 10 as well. And I've also taken the time here to make another Lightning Craft Infusion multi-block to automate a few different Lightning Craft items. And how I have this set up is there's 4 different level limiters for the 4 different Lightning Craft items we're doing. So we're doing Divine Underpower, Skyfather Ingots, Blocks of Electricium, Empowered Underpower, and that's it. Yeah, those 4. And then on the interfaces here, there's 4 different item conduits, and each item conduit corresponds to different inputs, and they're all filtered. They're all filtered on the input side, limited item filtered, just so the buffers don't get backed up. And yeah, that's basically. Oh, and yeah, these are on active with signal. So if there's less than a stack of any one of these items in these drawers, these level middles will turn on and allow the little inputs to go into the big item input. And over here we have some different machines. One is making mystical iron, and just have it filtered on the back for the cold iron ingots we're now getting from seeds. Black iron we are already auto crafting, and divine underpowder we just set up automation for. And the same thing for plutonium. That's just some cyanide with the mystical iron. And then crushed for getting crushed plutonium to make crop sticks. And then the molten plutonium from this just goes into a fluid transposer where it gets turned from regular aquamarine into sparkling aquamarine. Now that we have our sparkling aquamarine automated, I've gone ahead and automated our little starlight infuser here for both star leather as well as the resonating gems. And the way I have this set up is to actually get the starlight. I just have a little exporter here, exporting sparkling aquamarine into the chest, or a little mini buffer chest here. And right now there's rock crystals here. I'm just using the leftover ones I had, since I don't really have a use for them anymore. But once all these get through, it'll start using the sparkling aquamarine, which is basically free at this point. And then that just goes into a little portable tank here. That's pretty much a buffer, and then into the containment chalice, which means we don't have to replace any of these buckets of liquid starlight. And then this mechanical user here just clicks with the resonating wand on the Starlight Infuser to actually complete the craft. And then this user here, I have Phantom Face to right here. And then these drawers have the redstone upgrade on them. And I just have a redstone relay on inverted threshold set to 15. And this one is just set to output, which basically means, and yeah, obviously this conduit's on active with signal. And what this means is if there is less than 8 stacks in this drawer, it'll emit a signal to this conduit here and allow it to extract. And both sides are filtered. One is for sparkling aquamarine, the other side is for magical leather. And that'll basically put it into the mechanical user, and then that'll click it onto the Starlight Infuser, and it'll complete the craft. And then down here I just have a accumulator to pick up the drops, and that goes into the drawer controller. And now that we have our star leather, our next ingot that we're going to make is crystalline, and that takes a whole bunch of crystalline alloy, as well as some plasma cores, as well as the star leather. Now that we have access to plasma cores, we can make the final tier of crafting tables, the ultimate crafting table. And also, since we've unlocked a new mod, that means we're going to have to make another tier of machine frame, which is the Draconic machine frame. Next up, we're going to make our fusion crafting core, as well as our fusion injectors. And for the crafting core, we're going to need 4 Wyvern energy cores, which is just some regular Draconic cores and some of this crystallized redstone cluster. And you put that through the little laser former. That's how you get your energy cores. Alright, I've gathered up the rest of the materials for our fusion crafting core. And it's just some heavy duty tier 3 plates, 4 Wyvern cores, 4 beam receivers, and 4 beam reflectors, some crystalline ingots, and some blue solar wafers. And for our crafting injectors, the quest book wants us to make 9 of these. Alright, I've gone ahead and set up our little fusion crafting area. And to actually power these fusion injectors, I made one of these little Wyvern wireless energy crystals. And basically, all you have to do is just shift right click on this and then bind it to these injectors, and this will actually give it power. And then to actually give this power, I have a little Wyvern energy IO crystal on this conduit back here. So this is bound to the crystal as well, and that's what's actually giving this power. So the very first thing we're going to do with these crafting injectors is actually upgrade them to the Wyvern tier, as they're all basic currently. And to do that, we're going to need 2 crystalline ingots, 2 draconic cores, 2 draconium blocks, and 2 Wyvern cores. And I have a timer down here, as to actually activate the craft, you have to give it a redstone signal. So just have it on 20 ticks. But yeah, in a second we should get our Wyvern crafting core. And there's our first crafting injector. So I'm going to do this 8 more times, and I'll be back. Next up, we're going to make some Awakened Draconium. And it's 8 charged Draconium in the center, 4 regular cores on the side, and a Dragon Heart. We're going to need 1 dragon token. We're going to upgrade our cores to the awakened version. And all that is 4 Wyvern cores and 4 Awakened Draconium ingots. I'm going to do this 3 more times, and I'll be back. I actually lied. Before we were making our Awakened cores from the regular Dragon's tokens, but to actually upgrade them to the Awakened Dragon tokens, we have to surround it with more Awakened Draconium, as well as 4 Supremium ingots. Next up, we're going to make the Dragon Egg seeds, as well as the Crux. And to make the seeds, it's 1 Tier 5 crafting seed, 1 Awakened Dragon token, 4 Supremium essence, and a Dragon scale. And for the Crux, it's a Awakened Draconium block, 4 Supremium, 1 Dragon scale, and 1 Dragon egg. Alright, now that we have our Aquamarine seeds, as well as our Star Metal seeds, I've gone ahead and made 2 more liquid crafters. And using these 3 little liquid crafters here, we're going to automate solar ingots. And to automate solar ingots, it's a 3-step process. The first being making this empowered solar dust. But even before this step, we actually need some of this sulfuric acid. And there's a little duplication recipe we can use. If we put in 500 millibuckets and a crystallized sulfur cluster, we'll actually get a 500 millibucket surplus. And then purifying fluid is already automated and set up. And then we also have creosote set up, and we can also automate our little protein reactor to make us some protein. Liquid crafter, we're going to grab the sulfur clusters from our network, and we can just run some conduit down and over to the little item input. Then I'm just going to limited item filter it for like 4 for now. And then we're just going to give it 1 regular bucket to prime it. Then on the output side, all we have to do is just extract the sulfuric acid. And in theory, all we should have to do is just insert this on a higher priority. So the sulfuric acid always goes in here first. And then once there's an excess, we can send that to the second little liquid crafter. For our second liquid crafter, we're going to have to grab the purifying fluid from our network. And we also need the excess sulfuric acid. Then we can request our volcanic rock, as well as our solar dust in the interface. And then we just have to limited item filter the input for 1 solar dust and 2 Venus volcanic rock. Next up, we're going to set up our little protein reactor here. And we're just going to set up the output to be right into the fluid input. And for the item inputs, we can just supply them from the interface back here. For the other fluid input, which is creosote, we can also just select it from the little fluid interface here. And then all we have to do is just connect it to our other input. And I've also made a little pattern here for solar ingots, but I made a little modification. I took out the little empowered solar dust and just inputting that manually. And it's limited to 1 stack using a little limited item filter. And that's what this fan interface is connected to. And it's from the output of this little reinforced item output here. So everything else gets requested and put into here. And then once it gets outputted, just have to connect up some conduit to this and put it back in the interface. Another thing we can make, since we have access to Draconic Evolution, is the energy core, which will allow us to store a lot more energy than we currently can. And to make it, it's 1 Wyvern core, 4 Wyvern energy cores, 4 solar array wafers, and 4 vibrant capacitor banks. To be able to insert and extract power from our little energy core, we're also going to have to make some energy pylons, which take 2 ambient thermal controllers, 2 Wyvern energy cores, and 4 Draconic cores. And also for our energy core, we're going to need 4 of these energy core stabilizers, which is just a little laser focus recipe with a particle generator and 16 empowered diamantine crystal blocks. Right now, we're just going to assemble the tier 7 core, but can't actually start it up yet because we don't have I don't have these stabilizers yet. As above tier 4, you need 36 stabilizers instead of 4. But we can still make the regular core. And so I just grabbed a bunch of redstone and draconium, and yeah, I'm gonna assemble it. Alright, I've gathered up the 32 remaining energy core stabilizers, and I placed them in the 4 different cardinal directions, and all I have to do is just activate our little energy core. There we go, we can now store 2.14 trillion RF. We're currently above our little energy core right now, and we're going to replace our little induction matrix here. So to actually insert and extract, since we're above the energy core, we're going to place the glass under the energy pylons, and it should link up like that. And we need 2, one for input and one for output. So if you shift right click on the bottom, it'll change it to the orange mode, which is taking energy out of the core. Then all we have to do is just link up with, this is our line from our big reactor that's over there. So if we put conduit on here, we should see the energy core start to fill up, which it is, and it's going to take 1 day to fill, and we're doing 1,000,000 RF a tick. And then we just have to link up the output side, which is this conduit right here. Now we have a whole boatload more power storage at our disposal. We're going to upgrade our crafting injectors to the next tier, which is Draconic. And to do that, it's a little Wyvern crafting injector in the center, 2 crystal teen ingots, 2 Wyvern cores, 2 mystic ingots, and 2 awakened cores. I'm going to do this 8 more times, and I'll be back. Next up, we're going to have to fight the Chaos Dragon, as we need a few Chaos Shards to progress further. And instead of making the Draconic armor, instead we're going to make a Mantle of the Stars, as it grants 80% Chaos resistance. And there's actually a constellation we can attune this to, or attune it to VCO, as there's a perk that allows this Mantle of the Stars to give us creative flight. Now we have Awakened Draconium. Another use we have for it is actually in the Inscriber. and combining it with a inscriber scheduling press, we can get our scheduling circuit. And if we combine the scheduling circuit with some silicon and redstone, we can get our scheduling processor. And using these scheduling processors, we can make some packaging components. And using the packaging component, we can combine it with some heavy-duty plates, quartz glass, annihilation cores, and formation cores to get our ME packaging components. And if we combine that with some more heavy-duty plates, compression reagents, and a draconic machine frame, we can get our packagers. Using our new scheduling processors that we made, we can now start making the ingredients for the Mass Inscriber, which will help us make a lot of the AE2 circuits much quicker and easier. To actually make our Mass Inscriber, we need one machine controller, one reinforced item input, one reinforced item output, one huge energy input hatch, 4 reinforced machine casing, 12 reinforced glass casing, and the last thing we need is our 2 packagers that we crafted before. And with that, it means we can finally tear down this ugly inscriber wall and replace it with our new Mass Inscriber. And instead of passiving all of our processors and circuits, I'm just going to request them on demand, since the recipes in the Mass Inscriber are 1 tick a second. So pretty much as soon as the items go in, we'll get their outputs. And I just have them set to a stack because that's how high it let me set it to. And then there is just an item conduit on the bottom of this output hatch that goes directly into the interface. And with that, I think I'm going to end this episode here. So yeah, thanks for watching.